I have the benefit of silence now. The soil is heavy, but it is honest. More honest than the breath of 1,000 men screaming for change. When you are gone, you no longer have to perform the role of the hero. You can finally look at the scars and see them for what they actually were. A receipt for a debt that was never truly paid. I spent my living years convinced that the fire I carried would burn away the rot. I believed that if I broke the old gates, the people would walk through them with a light they had never seen. I lived as a ghost among the living, moving through the back alleys of history, trading my peace for their promise. I remember the night we finally bricked the palace walls. It was a victory they still celebrate in the streets today. I stood on the ruins of a fallen era, and the air was sick with the scent of spent gunpowder and something far more dangerous: intoxication. I saw the eyes of my brother in arms. They weren't looking for a new law. They were looking for a world without any laws at all. I watched as the men who had wept over the price of bread began to smash the very storefronts that fed their neighbors. I saw a young boy, no more than 12 years, holding a torch. He wasn't looking at the rising of a new nation. He was looking at the chaos with a wild, wild grin. In that moment, the liberation we had bled for shifted. The mask of the revolutionary slipped, and underneath, I saw the face of a wolf. It was then I realized that most people do not want a better system. They simply want to be the ones holding the match. They wanted the fire of purification until the smoke started to choke them. They wanted the fall of the giants until they realized that the giants were the ones holding the roof. That is why I say this now, with clarity of the earth upon me. The revolution, in its raw and true state, is never attractive. It is a jagged, terrifying thing that demands you sacrifice the very comfort you complain about. Most people who claim they want it are the first to reject it when it comes close enough to touch, because they finally see the truth. There is a very thin line between a revolution and the onset of anarchy. It all began with a spark that I tried to believe was holy. I remember the early days, the secret meetings in the damp basements, where we spoke in hushed tones about breaking the yoke. My brother, Elias, sat beside me at every one of those tables. He was the better version of me, younger, stronger, and possessed of a faith I had already begun to lose. Even then, while the others shouted about the glorious future, a cold doubt sat in the pit of my stomach. I saw the way their eyes lit up, not at the mention of justice, but at the mention of revenge. I doubted the result long before the first stone was thrown. I doubted the people's ability to build anything after they were done burning everything. But then, the crowds began to grow. When we marched, 10,000 voices rose like a tidal wave. They called my name. They called Elias the shield. That roar, that deafening, terrifying cheer, was the only thing that silenced the doubts. It was an addiction. I convinced myself that if 10,000 people believed in a lie, then it must be the truth. Their conviction became my fuel, even as my own soul went dry.